Want to chime into what's happening with your favorite KFAN program? Make your voice heard on the Bradshaw and Bryan text line. Let us know what you have to say by texting your message to 64686. That's 64686. Standard message and data rates apply.
Couple 13-14 pass, common. 10 to be, and the legendary Mark Rosen now joins us.
Good afternoon.
A lot of people want to. We were just talking the last segment about Sam Darnold, his struggles, and he's had a great season, laid an egg. A lot of quarterbacks have. A lot of. Then we were talking about golf as well. About sometimes you tighten up when you have a career best. You have to have patience. I'll give you another example. Tennessee, for the longest time, I was fourth in the North. Forever. Year after year after year. Not anymore. Nope. It took a while. If they would have kicked me to the curb, who would be here? It'd be the Tennessee and JG show, probably, or something. No! Maybe it would be maybe it would be a show called Worst Case Scenario would be here right now. I don't know. But you have to have patience. Vikings lose and resoundly to the Lions. Your thoughts?
Well, resoundingly in the fourth quarter in particular. I after a couple days of kind of consuming the game and looking ahead, obviously, to the Rams next Monday night, the first thought was this was a golden opportunity to beat a beaten-up Lions team, especially defensively. I know it's on their home field, and apparently, according to everybody I know who was there, said it was the loudest stadium they've ever been in, including U.S. Bank Stadium. And we know, and we watched the game, obviously, the Vikings had plentiful of opportunities, not just in the red zone, but inside the 10-yard line, 5-yard line, to not only make it a game, but to take the lead. So the frustrating part is, the Lions are beaten up defensively. I watched it, not that it mattered that much, but, because they played their starters against the 49ers, and they were arm tackling. They looked terrible defensively. And as the late, great Denny Green said, we let them off the hook. They did. And then, compounding that issue with Darnold's kind of jittery early performance in that game, actually continued for most of the game, doing things we have not seen from Sam Darnold pretty much all season long, overthrowing his receivers, T.J. Hawkinson, J.J. Jefferson. I'm going through my play-by-play sheet, and the defense did its job over and over and over again. I mean, the Vikings had, first and goal at the 5, Akers 2 yards, incomplete to Hawkinson, incomplete to JJ. It may have been a hold in the end zone. Didn't call it. Doesn't matter. Then they get there should have been grounding in the end zone. Oh, yeah, that was grounding. Oh, he had no eligible receiver near him. No, who?
Tight end and the running back.
No, the running back was right there.
Running back was right there.
I disagree. But anyway, it doesn't matter because...
Just go ahead and look at the... will you find the still shot of it? The running back is 10 feet from him.
Yeah, he threw the ball on the ground. Anyway.
Because he was getting pushed to the ground. You have a football. I'll drag you to the ground and tell me if you throw a frozen rope.
Anyway, we can save that for another discussion. It doesn't matter because the Vikings took the ball away anyway on the pace interception.
Yeah, that's it.
So that was a moot point, actually, because they had a better opportunity to score a touchdown there. So you got a first and goal in the 7, and it's incomplete to JJ, then the high pass to JJ, and then the one where he, on third and goal, where JJ was wide open. And this time, KOC says, we got to kick the field goal, and Reichert barely made it, 25 yards. They get on the board, and Vikings stop him on fourth down at the 42-yard line. They get the ball back again. They get the ball down to the 14-yard line, and they have to settle for a field goal again. And when you have these opportunities early in the game to take the lead and put some pressure on the Lions and don't do that, which is what the Vikings have pretty much done all year, you're in trouble. And then, of course, Reichert kicks the ball out of bounds. He ends up with a free 3 points.
The soon-to-be greatest kicker in Minnesota Vikings history.
I don't think he's healthy, but that's just me. There's something not right with him.
Why is he playing? We had a kicker that replaced him that was hitting every kick.
Because they say he is healthy. I don't know.
But if you don't think he is, then he's not.
I just don't understand. I mean, to me,
Can
it's
you ask Karn?
No, Karn doesn't know.
Okay.
I mean, it's like you always accuse Tennessee of, you just talked about golf.
Yeah.
Hitting your drive, just hitting it to the left in the woods.
Block it right, pull it left.
Yeah, pull it left. That's what it looked like. I mean, it looked like a golf shot that just went awry, and I'm going, what was that?
Do you still think he's about to be the best kicker in Vikings
Well, he's
history?
got a long ways to go.
I should say.
Yeah, obviously.
I still think it was the other guy. Who was the other guy? John Jr. Hinckley? No.
John Jr. Hinckley?
But he was a three-name guy.
Romo, yeah, who just is looking for his equipment or something. He put something out on social media yesterday. It was supposed to arrive in a package, all his Viking stuff, and it never arrived. Anyway, the point of the matter is, even in the third quarter, Akers runs 58 yards. I guess Aaron Jones was still dealing with a quad, problem in the locker room, because right after Akers runs 55 yards, they give the ball to him on 1st and goal. I was surprised they gave it to him. I'm thinking, well, he's got to be a little gassed there. He didn't gain anything. Then incomplete to Addison. Really didn't come close to scoring. They had 3rd and 4th, and we watched this team time and time again capitalize on those situations in the red zone. And then it was just a matter of time. I mean, and then Harrison Smith intercepted Goff's pass because they got the ball to the 2-yard line, and now it's 10-9 because Riker did kick a 51-yard field goal. So they're very much in the game. And even after the Lions scored on, they had a 4th down play. They made it 17-9.
Isn't that crazy how they go for 4th down and just make it time? Even when the other team knows it's coming, they can't stop him. Your mama can't stop him. Your daddy can't stop him.
Well, they stopped him a couple times. But
you're not going to make it every single
But even when they're down 17-9, then Van Ginkel has the ball in his hands. He runs that into a touch.
That was the biggest non-play of the game.
He scores
if
there.
He makes that, they get a tutty. They do the 2-point conversion. It's a tie ball game.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying is that the game, when you look at the final score, it got out of reach, obviously, because the Lions just poured it on, and they have the talent to do that against a lot of teams.
So you think the score of the game is a little misleading? You think it was much closer?
I do. I mean, the score is the score. It doesn't really matter what I think about it. But I'm just saying the Vikings shot themselves in the foot so many times that they haven't done really all season long. And so that's what I look at it like. Yeah, Sam Darnold has a lot. I mean, I'm sure he's looking at all kinds of film. He looked skittish. He looked like he was playing in his first kind of quote unquote playoff type game. When you throw the ball high like that,
yeah.
He was not moving around confidently like we've seen him against the Packers or other teams, even on the road.
Why did the Vikings have no answer for the green dog and the blitzing almost every play? Couldn't they figure something out? Don't they have something? Doesn't the coach that we want to give the 10-year contract to highest paid coach in the NFL, can't he figure that out?
Well, they have to, yes. Because the Rams are going to do the same damn thing next Monday night.
Well, they don't like, Tennessee has mentioned, they don't like man. They don't like man-to-man as much, but they could say, why don't we just give them another dose of that and see what happens?
Well, I mean, they might. I mean, again, you have those one-on-one matchups that you need to win. I thought they might roll them out a little bit more, a few other options, but we won't know that until if and when they get the chance to play the Lions again, which might be in 2 weeks. So
might be.
Yeah.
Though, if Washington were to win, that wouldn't be the case.
Yeah, right.
Washington would.
Or Green Bay, right?
Yeah, well, I don't. Green Bay's probably unlikely to beat. They could. That's probably unlikely.
Probably
but
yeah,
Washington could beat Tampa Bay.
Oh, absolutely, they could.
And so I think it's possible Washington goes to Detroit. Then Minnesota would have to go where? If they were to win. 5 would go face Philly, right?
Philly, yeah. Pick your poison.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't feel. Now we're sitting here on Tuesday. I just feel this team will respond. I'm not guaranteeing a win, but there were so many good things that happened when they put themselves in position to capitalize, and it's so unlike them. Excuse me, I've been coughing a lot. It's horrible.
It sounds like you're about to die. It sounds like you're coughing up a lung.
It's just this crud that's been going around. I talked to Sheldon about it.
Can you pull a little further away from me then?
Oh, no, I'm not coughing on you.
I know.
It's just that drink. Anyway, people know it's like an epidemic right now. What was I saying? I mean, I just feel that they'll have. And I was at that game in L.A. when they lost that one. You guys talked about the fact that they could end up losing just the 2 teams all year long. Did
you know that every team that has lost to Detroit has lost the following week, including the Vikings? When they lost at the bank, they lost to the Rams in their next game.
Thursday night.
If that holds, if it holds serve, the Vikings cannot beat Los Angeles. If that's
well, I don't know if past history means anything this time.
Probably not.
I don't think it does.
That's food for thought. Are you okay?
No, it's just
you don't
honestly,
you can go home if you want.
I feel better than what happens. I mean, it's just this stupid.
You look better at 75 than you did at 40.
I'm not 75.
Oh, okay.
It's just this annoying, taking all kinds of junk to get rid of it. But
do you think?
In a
Do you think the
Z-pack,
final? I made this bold and brash statement yesterday. If there were any questions, if it was going down to the wire, who the coach of the year was, it's now Dan Campbell, right? It's not Kevin O'Connell.
No, I don't necessarily think so. I mean, the Vikings
with that defense that the Lions put out there and did that to one of the most high-powered offenses.
Well, you're looking at one game. I'm looking at the course of the entire season. When the Lions are
14-3,
the Lions were favored to win the NFC this year. Right. The Vikings were supposed to win 6 games. So I mean, if you look at the roster with a so-called washed-up quarterback that's led them to that, I mean, I think Dan Campbell certainly deserves votes. I'm not saying he doesn't, but I think if you look at the whole body of work.
Once the season starts to progress and you see the Vikings are better, don't expectations and such change?
Well, they do, but that doesn't matter. It's you know, I mean, I don't. You can argue all that stuff, but
you seem like you're drawing a line and you're saying you're digging your heels in with this Vikings club, aren't you?
I'm not. No, I'm just saying that I'm not. I mean, digging in. I mean, I feel they're going to respond in a positive way. The Rams have their own set of problems they present with your old guy, Matthew Stafford, and
good clutch players there is, yeah.
Who the Vikings say they didn't know he was going to play the first time until 4 hours before kickoff, so they caught him by surprise. Well, yeah, it'll be fun.
Let's take a break, come back, more to get to with the legendary Mark Rosen here on the Common Man program on The Fan.
Don't miss out on the Power Trip Morning Show when they take over Treasure Island on February 6th and 7th. Be there for tons of games, laughs, and great prizes, including Vegas trips. Including Vegas trips to watch the big game. Book your stay using the promo code KFAN for both the 6th and the 7th to save 15%. To get the full details and book your stay today, head over to KFAN.com. Keyword calendar.
This is where you can always tell homers and what team they want. Listen to this text message. It just came into the KFAN. Bradshaw and Bryant, KFAN text line is 64686. Dan Campbell's a great coach, but Ben Johnson is clearly a huge reason for the team's success. Meanwhile, KOC is directly responsible for the Vikings' offense and success with Darnold. Well, couldn't you say a lot of the success for the Vikings has to do with their defense?
Yeah, of course it does.
And that would be
B-Flow. Yeah.
So he thinks KOC is this magical coach that is in control of everything, and then he thinks Dan Campbell's okay, but you know he's a great coach, but it's Ben Johnson that does that.
Every team has different responsibilities. Dan Campbell is the head coach. Ben Johnson calls the plays. He's the offensive coordinator. The Vikings have Wes Phillips as one of their offensive coordinators, but KOC
makes the calls. Yeah.
Makes the calls, and so I mean I'm not. I mean, it adds to it, and obviously his relationship with the quarterbacks has been a big part of his success, and we'll see going forward how that all works out with J.J. McCarthy coming in. But, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to nitpick that. I mean, with Dan Campbell not deserving of it, he's still the leader of that football team.
Go ahead.
I hate using the cliched culture because it's hard to magnify culture, good culture, bad culture. But if anyone took over a bad culture and turned it into a good culture, it's Dan Campbell.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking decades and decades of just being one of the worst franchises in the history of sports, and he's now led them to back-to-back division titles and a number 1 seed.
Yeah, that's
well, the front office deserves a lot of credit. They were in a position.
Brad Holmes is a great.
Yeah, they've utilized correctly the draft in particular with the offensive line.
They went with offensive linemen.
Yes,
you can still read the criticisms of selecting Jahmyr Gibbs with the 12th pick overall.
Amazing.
And they took the Jack Campbell guy in the first round too, and they got excoriated. Is that the right word? Is that right?
That's pretty.
They
close.
got ripped.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And those have been really good picks. You know, and Kwesi made a nice one with Addison, but a general manager and again, it's not all Brad Holmes. There are talent evaluators out there. But these are the guys that deserve a lot.
Yeah, and you never know how long. I mean, Ben Johnson's likely to move on to get a head coaching job if it's the right fit. He's certainly going to be interviewing with the Bears, probably a couple other teams. He has that window open right now, and very likely could end up taking a job before the Lions play again because he has that opportunity now to interview, and we've seen that happen before, where these hot coordinators get an opportunity to take over,
including B-Flow.
Yeah, I mean, Buffalo's a
Did
little
the
more
Jets,
of a long shot.
Well, the Jets requested permission to interview him.
Yeah, among a bunch of others.
So they must be interested.
And McCown, our quarterback
and
coach.
McCown.
Which I find surprising.
What if we
good
lose
for
all
him.
maybe McCown's not getting enough credit for Sam Darnold's emergence.
Because he's not a coordinator. Normally, guys like Josh McCown don't get that opportunity.
Right, but maybe the people that know say it ain't Darnold or it ain't KOC that's coaching up Darnold. It's McCown. Did McCown work with Darnold when he was in high school?
Yeah, they have a long-standing relationship.
Maybe McCown's the guy who's the quarterback whisperer.
I'm sure he'll get an opportunity. Listen, going through the interview process.
In high school, he worked with Drake May.
Oh, was it May he worked with?
Yeah, for a young guy.
He was with Darnold in New York.
In New York.
He was like a backup quarterback for him.
So maybe he's the quarterback whisperer.
Well, I think he helps in the room. They have a lot of
Could he be the quarterback whisperer? He could be. You're not there in that room.
I'm not there. No.
Neither am I. No. Just throwing it out there.
Throw it out there.
Tell me if you believe this. Common, it's unbelievable how a team that finished the season 14-3 is acting like the season's completely over. I think Purple Rubes have waited so long to be kings of the North, waiting for the downfall of the pack and pitiful Bears to be at the bottom. The rise in domination of the Kitties was unexpected, and I think there's immense jealousy and annoyance among Purple Rubes, and that loss to a broken-down, injured reserve Kitties team broke Vikings fans. I think in a lot of cases, I think it was, they thought, I was among them. I predicted 38-24.
Yeah,
I thought that defense was so decimated that the Vikings offense playing as well. Sam was coming off a game in which he was being carried in like a conquering hero in the locker room after the game.
Correct.
He was simply brilliant. The team was terrific. And I know Green Bay came back late, but the Vikings basically dominated that game at Curly.
Right.
And the way they played.
In Curly, the first game.
Yeah, the first game, and then here at the bank, and then all the games leading up to it. I thought they would. Well, I did. People thought I was doing this. Oh, you're just trying to do some reverse psychology. I thought the Lions were going to get run out of the building. I thought it was a two-touchdown.
And that's why it goes back to the opening discussion. I started looking at, again, the play sheet and going through the plays, and you realize it's not as if the Lions defense was stuffing them. They didn't cross midfield. They had a punt 8. Ryan Wright had a punt 5-6 times.
Right.
They had so many glorious opportunities. I mean, they had, what was it? 6. I wrote it down here. 6 points out of 3 red zone trips. I mean, that's just embarrassing. You can't do that against a powerhouse offense like the Lions and expect to win. You're not going to. You're not going to beat this team with field goals. So maybe they'll get another shot at him. But I'm looking at it as as more of an aberration. I hope it's quite the learning experience for Sam Darnold, because he definitely was skittish. I mean, you throw the ball high like that. I mean, that one pass that he had, Hawkinson was open the middle at 3rd and 18, whatever it was. That's the one he connected, a week before, whatever it was. And that was just, he just airmailed that thing. That's someone in a hurry.
If the Vikings were to win, they could get a home game, though, right? I mean, they can, because if Green Bay beat Philly, and Washington beat Tampa,
Vikings would be at home. Yeah,
Vikings would be at home.
The both of them have to happen. I'm trying.
That would be difficult, but is that correct, Tanner? Do I have it right?
Both would have to happen.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
If both happen.
That being said, Jalen Hurts still in concussion protocol for Philadelphia.
He is.
What if Green Bay
Washington has a better record than Tampa Bay?
Yeah, what if Washington beats Tampa? Then we're at home.
I wouldn't be surprised if Washington won that.
We'd be at home against Green Bay. Think about it.
We'd be at home against Washington.
That's right. Yeah, Green Bay would go to Detroit. We'd be at home against Green Bay or at Washington.
Yeah, that would be delicious. It would. I mean, anything can happen. I mean,
and then Green Bay could take down Detroit, and then we'd have home field advantage in the NFC Championship game.
The good news.
Don't be shocked if that happens.
What happens? That
Green Bay beats Philly.
Okay.
Washington beats Tampa.
I'll be shocked if Green Bay beats Philly.
Then Green Bay beats Detroit. Vikings beat Washington. It's Green Bay at Minnesota for the NFC Championship game. Well, it is.
You are a dreamer.
What do you mean?
Well, the good news,
what that would be?
Border battle.
Yeah. And it would actually be.
Well, the good news for the Vikings.
To beat the Packers in the NFC Championship game to get to the big game.
Yeah.
You can't ask for anything more.
The good news for the Vikings playing on Monday night is obviously they'll know the situation well in hand because of the games on Saturday and Sunday. Everyone else will have played, so they'll know the circumstances. They'll know if they win, they'll be either going to Detroit or potentially hosting a playoff.
I got even a better scenario.
Yep.
Can teams release players and those players can sign even during the playoffs? Because Green Bay or the Jets could release Rodgers. Green Bay signs them, and then we beat Rodgers in Green Bay for the NFC Championship at U.S. Bank Stadium. How delicious would that be?
Yeah.
Aaron was pretty good in his final game. He was flinging it around the ballpark. Did he have 3 or 4 tutties?
I saw some of it.
He's now the 5th quarterback in NFL history
500.
to throw 500 tutties. Is that correct?
Yeah. He said, I think they had a shot of him on the sidelines. He's mouthing the words, "This is my last game." I saw a clip of that.
Yeah.
Whether or not that is true, who knows? I mean, it's Aaron Rodgers.
Well, and you know how he is. He doesn't like to milk things like that. He doesn't like to call attention.
He'll be very decisive with this one.
He'll announce it right away.
Yeah. That's funny. Everybody likes to spread the rumors, and for the Vikings, at least they're healthy. I mean, that's the good news. Hopeful that we'll hear a little update on Patrick Jones. I'd like to see him get back in the lineup on the defensive side to put one more pressure point on Matthew Stafford, who's not very mobile, as we all know. SoFi, here we come.
A lot of things can happen. Are you going to SoFi?
I am not. No, I'm not going this time. No.
Well, isn't Karen going?
I don't know. She doesn't. She's.
Well, why don't you go with her?
No. I got to do my show here anyway, but I don't. I did the last trip. I mean, it's.
Yeah, but this is big.
They're all big.
Yeah, I guess at this time of the year they are all big.
The parking's really expensive out there. So
it is. That's true.
Let's take a break and come back with more.
Funny.
One more segment to go with the legendary Mark Rosen here on the Fan. Have a vibe? No? Couple 13-14 past final segment of the show. If the Minnesota Vikings, Minnesota Timberwolves, Minnesota Wild, Minnesota Twins, Minnesota Lynx, Minnesota Frost, Minnesota Loons all come up short in their relentless pursuit of a championship, we do have one this year. PJ Fleck declared it's great to end the season as a champion. And that's what we did.
I always love that.
We won the very prestigious Dunkin' Donuts bowl. Did you see when they dumped all the donuts on top of them? Oh, wait, no, that's right. There was a different bowl.
Yeah.
The Duke Mayo Bowl.
Oh, I watched it.
Very prestigious, and we are champions again.
I mean, I guess I'm supposed to have a sense of humor about, I understand it's a bowl game that if you're watching it nationally, you just, give no rip about it. I mean, in terms of the results, and but the play-by-play and the color guy, it was just a comedy hour. I mean, it was just, all these bowls are sponsored by some company. We understand that.
And they were eating mayo sandwiches.
They put
bananas
mayo on an ice cream bar.
Well,
I almost threw up in my house watching it. And the guy, I don't know if he pretended or he threw it right away in the wastebasket. How gross is that? I mean, I understand. Yeah, I understand if you want to make a sandwich. I love mayo.
You do?
Yes. Somebody said, "You're a Miracle Whip guy." I went, no, I'm not. I like. There's nothing better than
a Miracle Whip guy or a mayo?
No, I'm a mayo guy.
Mayo or mayo light?
Mayo. There's nothing. I don't eat it that often, but a bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich with mayo.
Well,
top 3 sandwich of all time.
It's not a BLT without mayonnaise.
No, it's not. But I'm just saying that.
How about a tuna fish sandwich? You got a tuna salad sandwich. You got a mayonnaise.
I put some mayo on it. I put mayo on a turkey sandwich. I put mustard on a ham sandwich. But I love mayo. But this was, anyway. We knew this was going to happen at the end, and PJ, of course, was a good sport about it.
Is that 8 bowl games in a row? And how many have we won? Have we won them all too? Have we played more consecutive?
Longest winning streak in college football for bowl games.
That's what we do.
Yeah,
Hang your hat on that.
I do think they have. I don't know how the quarterback situation is going to flush out next year, and this is Brosemer's last game. But on paper they have not only a good team returning, but they have some pretty good transfer players, et cetera, et cetera. But now it's a matter of getting yourself in the conversation for the playoffs. I mean, if Indiana was able to do it,
Yeah, but that's because they had the weakest schedule in the history of the National College.
That's true. That's true. And the Vikings, the Gophers have to play Oregon next year and Ohio State next year.
But you're right. That's the goal.
But they have to play us.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's certainly the goal.
Yeah.
Let's take a phone call from Tom. Tom, you're on the Fan. Thanks for calling.
Hey, you bet. Say, I'm a great fan of yours. Love the show. I just have one little friendly correction for you.
Oh, okay.
There is no R in Washington, so if you could say Washington instead of Washington, I'd appreciate it.
It's Washington.
No, it's Washington, sir.
No,
there is no R.
You've never heard.
I'm sorry.
You've never heard people from certain parts of the country say Washington.
I've heard people from the East say that because of the accent, but there is no R. So
I know, but if there's no R on the East Coast, then either though. It's much like down south they say oil instead of oil. Is it oil or is it oil?
All right.
Tom?
Don't get them going on it.
I know you're never going to correct yourself. But
it's not correct.
Anyway.
But why?
Have a good day.
Why can't I use? It's like.
Is it Jaguar or Jaguar or Jaguar?
Jaguar. And why can't I use if it is Washington's on the East Coast? Right. On the East Coast they say Washington, so I just think it's fun. That was enough to get him to call in. It bothers him that much. You call in.
Well,
it's part of the gig of the gum. That's what we do. We go Washington. Same thing if I say I'm going over to Paulie's Automotive to get my oil changed. I just say oil. Because down south they say oil.
It's also a program.
Yeah, it's a program.
That's what we're on.
It's not a program. It's a program.
I've heard people say Oregon.
Yeah, Oregon. I mean, there's a
1,000 of them.
Potato.
Tomato.
Never thought it would bother people, but you never know.
I guess it did.
Yeah. Well, he has a pretty good sense of humor about it, I think.
Taves toes.
That's exactly right.
Same thing.
Taves and toes. There's a lot of different ways you can say it. Wait, tell me, give yourself a break.
That's pretty good.
That's really good.
We do have some.
What?
Another head coach fired in the National Football League. The Raiders have fired Antonio Pierce.
The Radiators.
According to Tom Pelissero and Mike Garofalo and Ian Rappaport.
Yeah, they were waiting for that. Now, so there's how many coaching?
I think there's 6 altogether now. Is it 6 or is it up to 7? I thought it was 5, and then this would have been 6.
Yeah, this was expected.
You start to lose track after a while. Your Minnesota.
By the way, I just wanted from a journalism question for Rosie.
Yes, sir.
So I saw this on Twitter. Pelissero, Ian Rappaport, and Mike Garofalo all tweeted, the Raiders fired coach Antonio Pierce. Sources tell me at Rap Sheet at Mike Garofalo.
Oh boy.
So is that just all 3 of them getting a text at the same time? Say, hey, we have to all... It's not like they're all getting pieces of the Antonio Pierce story firing, right?
I assume they probably all have the same source.
Yeah.
And that
it was all delivered to them at the same time.
Yeah, because they don't want to play favorites with their sources.
Yeah. No, and Schefter could be involved in something like that. I mean, that whole landscape changed, 2009, 2010, when the insiders, local people would get scoops normally, a lot of times. And now it's very difficult.
Framework of a deal. That wasn't a national story. That was you.
And Brett Favre coming to Minnesota.
Yeah. And, of course, I announced that Brett Favre would start in the game that he was doing.
But those things are
considered out.
But the
I also was the first to announce that Justin Morneau had signed with the Pittsburgh Pirates.
I don't remember that, but congratulations.
It's a big one.
But
Morneau was a former MVP. That's a big story.
Yeah.
It's every bit as big as Mauer signing a contract. Well, it is. Everybody knew Mauer was going to sign with Minnesota. He's not going anywhere else. He was going to sign.
Nobody saw the Morneau deal.
Nobody saw Morneau going to Pittsburgh. I broke it.
Yeah,
and nobody thought Favre was going to play. Matter of fact, PA called me on the air. He and Zolgad when he was still with the Strib, and they basically said, "Common, you're cute, but Common, here's something you don't know. Maybe you should pay attention to the rules of football. When you're listed as out, you can't play." And I said, "Oh, okay, sorry." Hang up 20 minutes later, it's announced that Favre was going to play.
He shouldn't have played that night. It's a whole other story.
Well, why not?
Because it was a frozen turf, and it was.
Well, yeah, but he wanted
Vikings
to play.
Lousy,
it was a big game. He wanted to play. Players play.
Ego got in the way.
He's a tough guy.
Nice.
Well, he didn't know he was going to get hurt.
No, I know, but it didn't mean anything other than keeping his record intact. That's all.
Maybe he wanted to win. He didn't really.
What do you mean it didn't mean anything? Don't you think there were kids in the stands that purchased tickets to these games? I want to see Brett Favre play football.
You're the
load management guy, huh, Rosie?
Yeah, you're that guy that always says guys should play because that might be the only game they're going to. Joe tomorrow.
I did say that.
Joe.
I have said that.
Speaking of the Wolves,
yes, sir.
I don't know what to make of Ant. So he scores 15 points and said, "I just don't know how to get open. I have no answers. They're double teaming all the time." Next night he goes off for 53.
And they lose.
And his last last night he goes off for 37, and then they show the clip on TV.
Right.
What was he saying after the game? He's looking at the crowd and going,
I was there.
I'm here, or I'm always here.
Right.
Or they were telling me I was done because he was listening to
He's
it.
carrying on a conversation with himself a lot.
Yeah, and he was.
It was an odd night at Target Center. Sitting right behind Johnny Athletic, and we were both talking about the fact that the first quarter of that place, you could have heard a pin drop in there. The Wolves were down by 19 at one point. I don't think initially in the first quarter, but I think they only scored 16 points in the first quarter. It was like, oh man, this team, and and Finch joked about it afterwards, changed the starting lineup. He put Conley on the bench, and DiVincenzo started along with Randall, who I still.
Well, he didn't really. He was joking about why he made the change.
He was joking about it in the newspapers.
But wait a second. But he did make a change in the lineup after basically saying it has nothing to do with the starting lineup. There's a lot of things that happen during a game,
right?
And then all of a sudden he did make a change. I know he was doing it just jokingly, but he did decide he needed to do something different.
Yeah, he did talk about the reasons behind it as well, and Conley accepted it as a classy veteran would, and still got plenty of playing time and quality time.
But here's the rub: it didn't help because they got off to a terrible start.
Awful start. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It was. I thought, man,
so the change to get a different guy in and maybe bring a little bit more energy and some younger legs into it, at least for one game, that could change. But the first game, it did not help because they got behind early again.
They did.
Another slow start.
The effect was, obviously they got much better when Naz Reid got in the game and playing with McDaniel and Randall and it was and Ant, of course, and then Ant went off as the game went on. He was just, they could not stop him. And it's the Clippers are a fun team to watch. I've enjoyed. I know he's a interesting character, but James Harden's been around the league for 15 years, and he still puts on a show. The beard, and a lot of fun. And Zubats and Gobert were going at it. I mean, it was pretty good tussle at the end. The Wolves hung on at the end, not by much, but they won. They turn right around now and go to New Orleans to play a beaten up Pelicans team tonight without Zion and Brandon Ingram. I think both those guys are out, so. Even though it's a so-called back-to-back, they should have an advantage and at least try to win this game tonight and make it 2 in a row. They're going to hover around.
I think the
500.
issue is that I think it goes without saying when you're at a 500 record, there's just too much inconsistency.
Yeah,
it's just there's no. It doesn't seem like they're able to really build. They had that one little stretch where they held opponents under 100 points, like 5 out of 6 games, and I think they won 5 out of 6 games. Other than that, it's been. One game they look pretty good. The very next game they look like that game didn't even exist. And I don't know if it's. They keep talking about gelling, but I don't know. We're almost halfway through the season. I think in the long run, at least to this point, I know why they made the trade because it was financial. That's what they did because
for the future
because of that apron and the luxury tax. Because if they would have gone above it, like the second tier, then there's other punishments that come in, draft picks and this and that and the other thing. But I really do believe that when they talk about teams being close-knit and cohesive and we're a family, I sometimes roll my eyes and shrug my shoulders over that and the culture stuff. But I do think Bodega Cap was the glue on that team. He had been here everybody else came and joined him. And he and Ant seemed like they were pretty good buddies and played off each other pretty well. As far as maybe not in the way the game flowed all the time, but two guys, it was like frickin' frack. They were pals.
Stockton and Malone.
Yeah, they were friends together, and then the other pieces melded in really well. And then the teams all off season probably texting with each other and talking. We can go the next way. And then 3 days before camp starts, that glue was traded. I'm sure the other guys weren't made aware of it. I don't think there was discussions like, "Hey, we're thinking about trading Cat. What do you guys think?" They were probably all blown away, going, "Wait a minute now. Now you're pros. That happens." But I just think this gelling has maybe taken a lot more time than a lot of people were trying to convince me that it wouldn't take that long. Oh, give it 20 games, Common, it'll be fine. They look like they're okay, but I
they
just
look
don't
like
think
a fringe playoff team.
Yeah,
and I've watched a lot of their games. And going to the first game when they opened up against the Lakers, they lost that night. I remember turning to my son and went, "Man, there's just something off about this team." Now again, it's game 1. I thought, well, I don't want to read too much into it, but they were not in sync about anything, and they really haven't had a lot of those runs. I think last year they didn't lose 3 games in a row until the playoffs, right? The last series, and they were, and now you see the separation with OKC in particular. I mean, they're head and shoulders right now. I think about every team in the West they're that good. They have a lot of young superstars. But, and I think they missed Slow-Mo. I mean, he offered up some real glue defensively and kind of had a calming influence on that team. I know he's not a big name and all that, but the chemistry of the team was not the same, and you can't duplicate that by when you make a trade like that.
And then when you look at OKC,
right?
Just got to rearrange the letters.
That's all right.
They still have the best record in basketball, correct?
Yeah, Cleveland's right there with them. I think that they play tonight or tomorrow night.
And Holmgren is still out, right? They're doing this without Holmgren.
Yeah, they're so dark in here.
Chet's still out, right?
30-5.
I think they're 30-5.
Yeah, and Cleveland is 31-4. So
okay, first, second best record, whatever. One of the best records.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And Holmgren is still out. Am I correct?
I believe so.
I don't think he's playing.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
So bring him back, and you would think they would be even better, but things can change as the year goes by. How about Tennessee's Wild hockey team?
Yeah.
Despite the fact that they have key players hurt, your favorite player and mine, they call him Kirill
Kaprizov.
And now Spurgeon, he got slew-footed.
Oh, I slew-footed. Yeah, I saw that.
Did you ever hear the phrase slew-footed? I had never heard of it before.
Vaguely. Yeah. I've never heard it attached like this.
I always thought it meant athlete's foot.
Yeah.
If you had slew foot. No, I'm serious.
I'm sure.
That's what my old man called athlete's foot. He goes, you got slew foot. You know what I mean? He goes, you got athlete's foot. So that's what I thought it was. But they continue to win hockey.
Well, they're getting, as 10, I think, mentioned yesterday. I mean, you guys were talking about it. The Wild didn't have a lot of big shakeups in their roster, but you're seeing the development, particularly of a young kid like Marco Rossi, who was named NHL #1 star this past week, playing at a really high level along with Matt Boldy. And, it's kind of good for these kids to get even more playing time. And with Kaprizov out, and he's not going to be out for much longer, the way it sounds, and they're still right there, behind Winnipeg. They're very competitive. That's all you can ask for. Play the Blues at home tonight. Getting great goaltending from Gustafson and Fleury when he gets his chance to play. So, I mean, and trying to get Spurgeon back, hopefully in a few weeks. You kind of like where this team is going. I mean, it's got. You talk about the same thing with, the chemistry on the Minnesota Timberwolves and lacking thereof. I think you're seeing just the opposite with the Wild. I mean, it's basically the same roster. I got some young kids, different players here and there, role players, but the stars are their stars, and no, that's not going to change. But you're seeing the development. It was something that Bill Guerin was really hopeful of. That's why I think people kind of scoffed and went, all right, you're not making any big changes until next year when you get, the salaries are off the table and you can go after, maybe some high price free agents. But aren't you asking a lot for like Bolding and obviously Faber's at a high level already and Rossi to play like this? And well, you're getting the results right now.
Tenneby, do you see the Wild making any moves at the trade deadline? When is the trade deadline? It hasn't come and gone yet, has it?
No, it hasn't come and gone. I don't know the exact date. I would assume late February, early March is typically when it is.
Okay, do you expect the team to make any kind of...
When a team's in contention and you're one of the better teams in the conference, you're typically buyers. It's funny, before the season we were thinking about, well, maybe Philip Gustafson is who you're going to be trading away before the trade deadline, and now you're doing everything you can to keep him. Rosie was talking about the young guys. Marco Rossi has been phenomenal. During this stretch. And he's a guy that first year up struggled mightily, got sent down after like 15 games, made a big step up last year to the point where you're a 40-point player. Now he's at a whole nother level. And it is a reminder that with these young guys, Rossi did improve physically a little bit. He improved his skating and his stride, but just the game slows down a little bit and you process it a little bit. And his decision making right now is just, he's making the right play every single time. When he first came up, it was puck's on my stick. I got to get rid of the thing. And now he's more confident with it, holding it on, passing when he needs to pass, creating space when he needs to create space. The other youngster to look out for was just on the Team USA World Junior team that just won the gold medal. Basically, it's going to be like Brock Faber 2.0 in terms of impact, where he might jump up like later this year. And
what's his name?
Zeev Boyum. They drafted him this past year. I think a lot of experts were shocked that he dropped to them.
Mr. Boyum was one of my my junior high
teachers.
was like if I had teachers. Anyway,
he's a left-handed defenseman. Put up huge numbers as a freshman last year at the University of Denver, having another good year at Denver, and has now won back-to-back gold medals for the World Juniors. And he had the game-winning assist in overtime. Just a beautiful saucer pass, stretch pass.
He's a saucer pass.
It was a saucer stretch pass through the neutral zone.
Whoa. What's a saucer stretch pass? I've never heard of that.
Well, stretch pass is just kind of like a long pass through the neutral zone, but the saucer just means it was in the air.
So it was like a frisbee.
You're trying to feather it over a defenseman's stick for Finland. Beautiful pass, but he led USA in minutes in that game. He is going to be an instant impact stud.
So is he going back to Denver right now?
Yes.
And then
after their season's over, they can sign him.
Okay, which would be in March. Yeah.
I was going to ask you while you were describing him if he saucer passed it, and then I thought, I'm not going to say that because this is why interrupt him bees on him. And then you bring up the saucer pass. I'm not making that up. I was going to do, me inserting the nonstop nonsense like this. If the Wild make a trade, I hope they get Martini, and then you pair him with Rossi. You have Martini and Rossi on the Rocks, because On the Rocks is a really good player too. Young kid for the Wild. His name is Pierre on the Rocks. You pair those three together, and you never know where you're going from there. Thank you very much. And by the way, the Wilfs spent $2 million.
Oh, I'm acutely aware of that.
To buy tickets to sell back to season ticket holders. That $2 million is $2 million more than the Polevs have spent in free agency this year.
Don't make me laugh. I'll start coughing.
$2 million more than they spend money over at the new Winter Park out at TCO.
Yeah.
The Twins haven't budged, right?
I think they're standing pat.
They're standing pat.
I mean, they got
we did lose one reliever.
Staff.
Who was the guy that was our reliever? He wasn't spectacular.
Thielbar
signed.
He's gone.
He's gone.
Didn't they sign a guy named Ford?
Danny Ford.
Any relation to Lou Ford?
I think he's related to Disco Danny Ford. Remember Disco Danny Ford?
Do I remember Disco Danny Ford? They've had a lot of Fords, but most of them turn out to be Edsels.
Maybe he's built Ford tough.
It's possible. You like that one?
Yeah. Every once in a blue moon, you'll come up with a
once in a while I will. Still got it in me.
Tenby, what do you... What's the plan for David
Jiricek?
Yeah, Jiricek.
I don't know if there is a plan. I think the plan is to put him down in Iowa, and if he's ever ready eventually, you bring him up.
Nice problem to have.
It's a nice problem to have. It really is.
We're just loaded with young defensemen now.
Yeah. You'll be back tomorrow, right? Are you going to Turks and Caicos or any more?
I'm not going anywhere.
You're here for a while now.
I'm here because I'm locked into the Vikings for their long run.
Well, yeah, but now, let's say they do lose. Then are you going on a long vacation again with your gal? I bet you do.
No, we're not going anywhere.
Okay.
She's got.
So we can kind of count on you for 3 days a week here.
Yes, you can.
Good for you. We'll see you tomorrow.
Do you believe in miracles?
Yeah. We'll see you here at 2 tomorrow.
I'll be here.
Very good. Thanks, Mark. Tebby, thanks for having me.
Hey, great job.
You as well. We enjoyed our visit with you today. We'll be back tomorrow at 12 noon. Stick around. Big Ticket, JG, they are next. You're on the Fan.
Good night. Good morning. Good afternoon. And good night, Minnesota.
Good night, folks. And good night, Mrs. Calabash. Wherever you are.
Well done, young man.
Listen back to any of Common Man's programs by podcasting on the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.